What's up, guys? UFC 295 is this weekend, and I'm coming at you with another predictions video. Let's get right into it. Kicking us off at featherweight, Dennis Bazooka versus Jamal Emmers. This is a pretty good fight, but I feel like it might be a little bit of a mismatch. Dennis Bazooka is a decent fighter at featherweight, but he's coming off of a pretty decisive loss to Sean Woodson, who I don't think is too incredible. I believe Dennis took that fight on short notice, to his credit, if I remember correctly, but I feel like Jamal Emmers is a much harder test for Dennis Bazooka than Sean Woodson would be, man. Jamal Emmers had a really, really close fight with Jack Jenkins, which he didn't get the decision in. But I remember when that fight happened, a bunch of people were crying, acting like Jamal Emmers got totally robbed. So, I mean, if he can have a very close, arguable decision win against Jack Jenkins, I feel like he's going to be able to beat Dennis Bazooka pretty handedly. Dennis Bazooka's a tough guy. He's got decent striking. His grappling's mid. I just think Jamal Emmers is levels above him at this point in his career. I'm going to go with Jamal Emmers. I think he's probably going to just dominate Dennis Bazooka and win a decision here. Moving to flyweight, we have Joshua Van versus Kevin Borjas. Joshua Van, in his debut against Zhalgas Zumagula, really, really impressed me, man. Not a lot of guys can go out there and dominate Zhalgas. Almost nobody actually goes out there and dominates Zhalgas besides... Manal Cap has really been the only guy who's had the skill level to do that. I think Joshua Van's actually really good. Kevin Borjas is decent, but the level Joshua Van showed in his debut dominating Zhalgas Zumagulov, I think he's going to be able to beat Kevin Borjas. I think he's probably going to win a decision here over Kevin Borjas. I think the striking is just too clean. Joshua Van's very technical. He manages his range very well. He slides in, he slides out. His boxing's super clean. I think he's going to have the striking edge against Kevin Borjas here. Moving to bantamweight, John Castaneda versus Quang Ho Kang. This is a pretty good fight. I don't know why so many people are picking Quang Ho Kang. He had a pretty good win in his last fight, but at 36, I think I don't know if I can trust him. John Castaneda is low-key kind of good. Kang is good too, but he's predominantly a submission fighter. He likes to win his fights by submission, but I think John Castaneda is adept enough at the grappling to defend Kang's entries. And I think on the feet, I think John Castaneda is much better than Quang Ho Kang. I think he'll be able to keep the fight standing, and I think he will win this fight probably by decision. Obviously, if Kang gets Castaneda to the ground, it could be problems. I don't believe Castaneda has ever been submitted, but I believe Kang has the ability to do it. I just don't think he's going to be able to. I think John Castaneda is adept enough at grappling to be able to defend himself pretty well. I think he's going to win this fight by decision. Ending the early prelims at lightweight, we have Jared Gordon versus Mark Madson. I don't think Mark Madson's very good at fighting. I know he's like the Olympian or whatever, but like, dude, like he's going to fucking war with Clay Guida, you know what I mean? He's 39. He hasn't fought in a while, I don't think. I gotta go with Jared Gordon, man. He was looking really good against Bobby Green before that headbutt caught him. He should have beat Paddy Pimblett. I think Jared Gordon is much better than Marco Madsen. I think Jared Gordon's grappling is good enough to stuff Mark Madsen's attempts. I don't feel like Mark Madsen's offensive grappling is really all that, even though he is an Olympic wrestler. I think Jared Gordon is going to tee off on him on the feet with ease. I think he's actually going to finish Mark Madsen. I think he's going to TKO Mark Madsen in probably like the second round, once Mark Madsen can't get a takedown. Moving up to lightweight, Nazim Sakov versus Vyacheslav Borchev. This is a good fight. I'm pretty excited for this one because I'm a really big fan of I can't say his I can't say his name. Vyacheslav Borchev. I'm just going to refer to him as Borchev because I know that's how you say his last name. His first name's a fucking Rubik's Cube for me, boys. I really like watching him fight. However, he is fighting Nazim Sakov who is a pretty adept grappler. He was able to out-grapple Terrence McKinney pretty easily and submit him in the second round. And Borchev, his only weakness is his grappling, man. His grappling is not where it needs to be, or at least it hasn't been in his last couple of fights. He dropped a fight to Gabe Davis and Mark DeCassi, which both of those guys are really quite good. And he took them to decision still. And I was looking at Nazim Sadakov's record, and besides like Terrence McKinney on his record, I wasn't super impressed with a lot of the guys he was beating. Like he was taking like, I believe he took a 0-3 guy to the third round. Let me confirm this. Yeah, like he's taking a 0-3 guy to the third round. He's taking a 6-7 guy to a 5-round decision. I just don't. His record just doesn't blow me away besides his win over Terrence McKinney. And Terrence McKinney's not exactly a world beater. He's very good, but he does tend to fade once you get him out of the first round. Sadakov's striking is very patient, but Borchev has a clear striking upside in this fight. However, Sadakov has a clear grappling upside in this fight. I'm going to go with Vyacheslav Borchev. I know his grappling is not good, but I just see a world where he finds a way to chin Nazim Sadakov. His striking's too clean. I think he's going to be able to get him out of there. I really do. I'm going with the underdog. I'm going with Vyacheslav Borchev here. I think he's going to TKO him in the second round. Going to women's strawweight, Tabitha Ricci versus Lupita Godinez. I'm going with Lupi Godinez. I think she's just better overall. Her grappling's really, really good. She's got really good takedowns, really good trips, and her striking as well, I think, is a level above Tabitha Ricci's. Lupi Godinez hits, honestly, quite hard for a woman's strawweight. She's got a lot of pop in her shots. I think her grappling's on par with Tabitha Ricci's, if not even better. I think the striking upside is there for Lupi Godinez. There's not a distinct size advantage for Tabitha Ricci. Matter of fact, Lupi Godinez is the bigger fighter. I got to go with Lupi Godinez. I think she's just better everywhere. I think she's going to have better pop in her shots. I think she's going to do more damage. I think she's probably going to win a decision here over Tabitha Ricci. Closing out the prelims at flyweight, Steve Erceg versus Alesandro Costa. This is a pretty good fight. Alesandro Costa is actually a pretty good fighter when you dig into his record. But Steve Erceg, man, and his debut knocking off David Dvorak by unanimous decision is really impressive. When you go through Steve Erceg's record, nothing really sticks out at you about his skill level except for that David Dvorak fight, though. But the fact that he went in there and dominated him the way he did is really impressive, because the only other guys to dominate David Dvorak have been Mateus Nicolau, who's top 10, and Manel Kopp, who's top 10. So, you know, in my mind's mind, I feel like I have to go with Steve Erceg here, because I wouldn't pick Alessandro Costa to go beat David Dvorak, I believe, on short notice. I don't know if that fight was short notice. It might not have been. But I don't know if I could pick Alessandro Costa to beat David Dvorak. You know what I mean? But of course, styles make fights. And Alessandro Costa is a pretty dangerous customer. But the composure of Steve Erceg on the feet against a guy like David Dvorak, who's really dangerous, was really impressive. And Steve Erceg has really, really good submission skills. He's got decent takedowns. I think Steve Erceg's going to win this fight. I think he's probably going to get a decision here over Alessandro Costa, although I think it will be a pretty closely contested fight because Alessandro Costa is really quite good. Opening up the main card at featherweight, Diego Lopez versus Patsabatini. They have Diego Lopez as an underdog right now, plus 105, which is pretty crazy to me because I'm picking him to win this fight. I think he's going to beat Patsabatini because Patsabatini is predominantly a guy who likes to grapple, who likes to go for submissions and work his jiu-jitsu. Man, Diego Lopez is nasty off of his back. He's got really good grappling, almost subbed Movsar I can't say his name. Movsar Ivalov, whatever. Who's really good, undefeated prospect at featherweight. Diego Lopez on short notice came in there, was really putting hands on him, putting him in submissions, threatening him early, and then in his most recent win, he destroyed Gavin Tucker, who's really no joke. He's a bit old, but he's still a good fighter. I think the grappling here is going to cancel each other out. I don't think Pat Sabatini, once he gets in Diego Lopez's guard, I don't think he's going to want to hang out there very much at all because Diego Lopez is very dangerous off of his back. He's got good submissions. Obviously, Sabatini does too, but I think he's going to want to disengage once he gets into Lopez's guard. And then I think largely this fight is going to take place in the stand-up. And in a stand-up fight, I think I favor Diego Lopez any day. He's much bigger. He's younger. I think his striking's a bit crisper. I think he's got more power in his shots. I think he's going to TKO Patsabatini. I think he's going to knock him out in like rounds 2 or 3. Moving up to lightweight, Matt Frevola versus Benoit Saint-Denis. This fight's a fucking banger. Certified banger, team. Man, I've deliberated on this one a little bit. I'm still not too certain about who I'm going with. They have Benoit Saint-Denis as a minus 235s, and Matt Frevola is a really good underdog at plus 190, guys. He's got real power. He's got good wrestling. He just chinned Drew Dober. But I still think I'm going to go with Benoit Saint-Denis. Now, it is a bit of a sketchy pick because when you watched Thiago Moises fight Benoit Saint-Denis, I picked Benoit Saint-Denis to win by round 2 TKO, which is exactly what he did. But there were moments in that fight where they were exchanging along the cage, just throwing big shots at each other. And man, when Benoit Saint-Denis gets caught in that firefight like that, he really does leave his chin way out there. And Matt Frevola hits a lot harder than Thiago Moises, man. But one thing I noticed about Benoit Saint-Denis in that fight, he was really, really good at changing from that style of looping hooks against the guy he has pressured up against the cage to getting a really good takedown entry on a guy like Thiago Moises, who's no slouch on the ground. And although Matt Frevola can grapple and grapple well, you know, earlier on in his career, Arman Sarukian was able to take him down at will. And I think with Benoit Saint-Denis getting some respect on the feet, I think he'll be able to get really good entries on Matt Frevola and get him to the ground. Matt Frevola might be able to get up, but to get up, you might have to give your back to Benoit Saint-Denis. And I think that might be where problems start to arise for Matt Frevola. Matt Frevola can definitely chin Benoit Saint-Denis in an exchange where Benoit leaves his head up in the air. And he's got the power to do so. So I think Matt Frevola is probably one of the best underdogs on the card by far. But I have this feeling that Benoit Saint-Denis is going to catch him in something, man. I think he's going to submit Matt Frevola. I think Matt Frevola might give his back to get up from a takedown. And I think Benoit might snatch up a choke. I do. I'm going to go with Benoit Saint-Denis by submission. Going to women's strawweight, Jessica Andrade versus Mackenzie Dern. This one for me is a little bit tricky because I like Jessica Andrade, but man, she has not looked good in her last 3 fights. She's on a 3-fight losing streak, finished in the last 2 of them. And Mackenzie Dern's looked pretty good, man, dominating Angela Hill. Got a really great performance last weekend. I don't know if I could trust the inconsistency of Jessica Andrade. Like, if she shows up like 2 years ago, Jessica Andrade, she could probably beat Mackenzie Dern. But I don't know what Jessica Andrade is showing up, man. And Mackenzie Dern, she's consistent. She's good. Her striking is improved. Her jiu-jitsu is really good. Her grappling is nice. She has good entries, good trips. I think she can beat Jessica Andrade here. She's the bigger woman. I think she's probably going to end up submitting Jessica Andrade in like the 2nd round. I just can't trust the inconsistency of Jessica Andrade as of late. So I got to go with Mackenzie Dern. Here we go, gentlemen. A certified banger for the children. Interim heavyweight title fight. Sergey Pavlovich, Tom Aspinall. What a banger, fellas. The co-main and the main event for me are just absolute pick'ems. But those are the best kind of fights, right? Sergey Pavlovich, man. On a 6-fight streak, all in the first round. Terrifying power. Terrifying boxing. Probably the scariest heavyweight in the division right now. And Tom Aspinall, big dude, freak athlete, super well-rounded, very quick, very dynamic footwork. Who do you pick, right? I'll tell you. I'm going to go with Tom Aspinall, just straight up. I think Tom Aspinall has the ability to take down Sergey Pavlovich, and I think he's going to be able to mix that up really well, because when you watch Tom Aspinall's old fights, his best performance was against Alexander Volkov. He had probably the most perfect takedown entry I have ever seen, especially in a heavyweight fight. He slipped, I think it was a cross from Volkov so perfectly into a double leg. Immediately took him down and submitted him. It's one of the most impressive performances at heavyweight I've ever seen grappling wise. And he's also super capable of moving in and out on the feet very quickly and landing his shots like he did on Marcin Tybura. I think he's going to be able to mix it up against Sergey Pavlovich. However, there are a couple of things Tom Aspinall does that would worry me in this fight. He disengages. He goes in and out. He'll go in, throw a combo, and then dip out very quickly. The problem with that is every time he leaves the pocket and dips back, his chin's way up in the air every single time. His head is straight up. He doesn't really move it. He moves himself. He moves his whole body as opposed to really moving his head. And if his chin's straight up and he thinks he's out of range, the problem is Pavlovich has an 84-inch reach. He has a 6-inch reach advantage over Tom Aspinall. So there is a world where he could catch Tom Aspinall as he dips out and Tom thinks he's out of range, which could be problems. And another thing Tom Aspinall could do that could easily lose him this fight is just standing in the pocket with Sergey Pavlovich. If the Tom Aspinall who came out against Curtis Blades comes out and fights Sergey Pavlovich, he will lose. You can't stand in the pocket with him. It's a bad idea. He has to be elusive. He has to time his shots well, and he has to mix it up. But he's an intelligent enough fighter to where I think he can do that. I think he understands the risk of the guy he's fighting here, and I think he's going to be smart about it. Jump in 1-2, jump out, jump in, fake a 1, go for a takedown. I think he can do that. I think he's going to beat Sergey Pavlovich. I think he might beat him by submission, actually. I think this fight might wear on a little bit longer than either of these guys are used to. I think it might get into like the 3rd round. I think Sergey might defensive takedowns early. But I think eventually, a cardio issue might show up for him from defending all these takedowns. I feel like Tom Aspinall might be able to wilt him with his grappling and get a submission. However, it's Sergey Pavlovich, man. There's always that chance that he just absolutely destroys Tom Aspinall. But I'm going to trust in Big Tom for this one, I think. And then closing out the card at light heavyweight for the title, Yuri Prochazka, Alex Pereira. What a sick fight, dude. Like, what a sick fight. I mean, who do you go with here, man? I think I'm going to go with Alex Pereira, guys. I don't think Alex Pereira has a weakness to grappling. I don't think anybody can say that really anymore. Jan Blachowicz wasn't really able to do shit with him in the grappling. I don't think Yuri Prochazka is going to be able to. And Yuri Prochazka is such a dangerous fighter with so many finishes. He could finish Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira's not getting any younger. He's 36. His striking defense isn't necessarily great. But I can just see Yuri Prochazka throwing something with his right hand way down. And I can just see him getting blasted by an Alex Pereira left hook, man. And Yuri Prochazka, although he has good recoverability, when he gets hurt pretty often. In a lot of his fights, he gets wobbled pretty bad. But he's able to recover. I don't know if he's going to be able to recover if Alex Pereira hurts him and starts swarming him. Yuri Prochazka is a really good fighter, and he presents a ton of danger for Pereira. And he can definitely win this fight and chin Alex Pereira, or maybe even submit him. I don't think he'll submit him. I think if Yuri Prochazka wins, I think it's going to be by TKO. I think he'd have to hurt Alex Pereira. But I'm going to trust in the kickboxing acumen of Alex Pereira, even at 36 years old. Both of these guys are about the same size. I think I'm going to trust in that left hook, man. I think I'm going to trust in Alex Pereira catching Yuri Prochazka coming in with his hands down. Yuri Prochazka's a live dog, though, man. Plus 110. Hey, I don't hate it if you play him. But I'm going to go with Alex Pereira by TKO. I think it probably like rounds 2 or 3. I think he's going to kind of wait a little bit to see what Yuri has planned, what he's throwing. Get a timing on some of his unorthodox techniques. Then I think he's going to go for the kill shot. I think he'll get it too. But yeah, that's UFC 295. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to leave a like. I appreciate it. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.